Hello, my wonderful guitar playing friends. You are wonderful. But today, we're going to talk about something that may be just a little bit intimidating. Dun dun dun! Bar chords. Now, even people who don't play guitar sometimes hear the term bar chords and they think, I hear those are pretty hard. And on the one hand, they are correct. They are pretty hard. But they may be just a little bit easier than you think if you're not familiar with them. So we're going to start from the beginning about how bar chords work. So you know how regular chords work. We've been over them and we'll go over them a lot more in the various songs in our song section. All these different chords. And then you may remember from our basic section what this thing is. This is a capo. And you might remember that I can put the capo anywhere on the guitar. Say, I'm just going to do the 3rd fret for now. And if I do that, now my guitar starts here. Nothing back here really matters anymore. It starts here and everything is going to be higher than it was. Right? Which makes sense if I do it without it. Okay. Now, even though I was playing a G chord, you could see I was doing a G position here. We may call it a G chord, Capo 3, but it's not really a G chord, right? That's not what we're hearing. When I'm back here, we're going to hear a G chord. But when I Capo 3 and play the G chord, we're actually hearing a B flat chord. All right? Check it out. Here's a B flat chord with, my guitar is a little out of tune, but that's okay. Then I'm here on the 3rd fret playing that G position, but do you hear how it's the same chord? So sometimes we call chords by their position, but it's not what we're hearing. So I would say, yes, Capo 3 G chord, but it's actually a B flat chord that we're hearing. All right, so just kind of tuck that away for a minute. Now when we use our finger as a bar, we're basically capoing the guitar. That's all it is. In fact, I don't really think that this is a coincidence, do you? See? But instead of capoing this way, we're going to capo this way from underneath the guitar so that we can use these fingers to play a chord. That's what a bar chord is. It's essentially using your finger as a capo. And then of course people usually ask, well, why don't you just use the capo? Well, because a bar chord is when you need it just for a moment. Like maybe I'm playing like... And look. I just moved my capo around, didn't I, instantly? And then I'm back to open position with no capo. So it wouldn't be practical to actually use a capo there. The first step to working on your bar chords is to use your first finger, and we're just going to try to make a bar. Let's pick a fret. Let's say 3rd fret. Notice that my thumb here is directly behind my first finger, if you can see that. A lot of times when we play guitar, the thumb's sticking up here when we're doing chords. But for bar chords, that doesn't work. You can't get a nice straight bar unless you bring your wrist down a bit and let your thumb be right behind. Again, making that capo. Also notice that my bar is not sitting right here, just even with the 6th string. I'm actually taking it up about an inch above the string, or above the neck, the whole neck, really, the fretboard. And that's because this is the strongest part of your finger right here. And I actually want to have my 1st and 2nd strings kind of hitting this area right here. All right? And that's going to help me be able to do that, actually get the notes to come out with my bar. Also note that I am not putting my finger square down. I'm just a little bit angled towards the sound hole of the guitar. Just a little bit. So you might look down and see that your string marks are more here than here, okay? Just a little bit. And I do expect to see that 1st string mark be all the way down here, pretty close to where your finger begins. Now I would try that. You might even pause the video for a moment, pick some different frets maybe, get that finger right up close to the sound hole side of the fret, an inch above the string, get that thumb right behind it, and just see if you can get most of the strings to come out. You will squeeze a bit. I think it just kind of comes with the territory. But you can also kind of pull back a little bit, kind of pull the strings down. Some combination of pulling and squeezing might work really well. So that may take a little while to get used to. If you do have a classical guitar, your neck's going to be a little bit wider, so you may have to just find that right position. Electric guitar is going to be a little bit easier because the strings are a little easier to push down. Once you feel comfortable with the bar, that's just the first part. The next part is now we have to do a chord, right? Now here's where it may be a little easier than what you may think. We're really only going to use two basic types of chords for bar chords, at least for now. And those two types are E position chords and A position chords. Now, if you think of your E position, maybe you're familiar with this one by now. It's like that. And then to make it E minor, I go like this. So check it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the 3rd fret here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend I'm capoed here, and I'm going to build my E position chord right here. And I've got the picture up there about which fingers to use. Your 2nd finger, your 3rd finger, and your 4th finger. Just like this. And I'm going to give it a strum. Now at first yours is probably going to have a lot of this to it. That's okay. It's going to take a while to get it all together. So this is what I would call an E position chord barred on the 3rd fret. But what chord are we actually hearing? This is, believe it or not, this is actually a G chord. My guitar's a little tuned. But that's generally the same chord, isn't it? Now you might be thinking, well, Stephen, why would you actually play this when you can just play a G chord? Well, this is useful for different points, but also check it out. This is a G chord. What if I capo it up, just move everything up another fret? Now it's a G sharp or A flat chord. A chord, A sharp or B flat chord, B chord, C chord, C sharp chord. You get the idea? All the way back to the 1st fret, this may be your best way to play an F chord. All right, F, F sharp, G, and so on. So that's one of the great things about the bar chords is you are not just learning one chord, you're learning all these chords. So that way when you're playing your song, you're like, yeah, C, I know that, D, I know that, A flat. What am I going to do? No, you're going to know that it's an E position chord that we're going to capo up to the 4th fret, and now it will sound like an A flat chord. Don't worry, it takes a little practice to know where they all are, but just get the idea of the basic position. Your E position bar chord. Now, you kind of get 2 for 1 with this because all you have to do is lift up your middle finger, not to be rude, and you have an E minor position bar chord, okay? E, E minor, E major, E minor. So now the chord I'm playing here, if I lift this one up, is a G minor chord. Ooh, dark and angsty, right? Now at first, this may be a little hard to tell the difference when you play these because your bar is actually pushing down the fret for the 3rd string, and that one is easy to kind of not get, and so you may not get that minor sense quite right off the bat. But as you play it more and more and all the strings start to come out, you'll be able to tell the difference between the major and the minor. So cool, E major, E minor. When I tell you what bar chord to play, I will usually say E major position bar 5th fret or E minor position bar 2nd fret. I'll tell you what the actual sound of the chord is too, of course, but that will help you to understand the bar chords. And for a lot of these chords, that's just the only way you can really do it. You can play an F sharp minor chord without the bar chord, but really that's just half of a bar chord. So if I can just do it this way, then I can strum the whole guitar. Why else might a musician choose to play a bar chord? Well, maybe they want to play something like this. See how funky that is? Because I can stop all the chords instantly, or all the notes instantly, by simply stopping pushing them down. I didn't move them, and because I have a bar across every string, boom, I can really control my sound. It's a lot harder when I'm doing an E minor chord here I mean, I can do it, but it's not quite that same clean Now, let's quickly go over our other bar chord positions before this lesson gets too long. Again, there's only one other position we're really going to use. We use the E and the E minor. We're going to use A and A minor. By the way, why do we use the E chord and the A chord for our bar chords? The reason is simple. Because back here, those two sets of chords, the E's and the A's, only utilize 2 frets. Think of a D chord. I have 2nd frets, but then I have a 3rd fret. So if I were going to do a capo and do a D chord, I would have to really reach quite a bit. Or to do a G chord, or to do a C chord. And you do see it now and then, but just generally the A's and the E's are a little easier. With this one, we're going to start with the minor. So let's go back to our 3rd fret. We're going to bar all the way across. And now I'm going to build an A minor chord, which I'm going to put up here. 2nd finger, 3rd finger, and 4th finger. Note that it's actually the same position as the E position, but everything is technically up a string, even though we're moving down to the floor. It's up a string in pitch. So now I've got this beautiful C minor chord. Lovely. Technically, the 6th string we would maybe like to avoid just to get the right bass note in the chord, but you can see I put it in parentheses because it's fine if you hit it. It's going to be okay. That's great. Now, why did I go minor first? Well, because it's kind of the easy one. The A major position kind of stinks. I'll show you how a lot of people do it, and I do it this way too. If you think of an A chord, it's 3rd frets on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string. So a lot of people would think, well, I guess we're going to have to go like this. And you know, some people do it that way, which is kind of a hard position. But here's how most people I've seen do it and how I do it too. You bar that 2nd fret, but then you're going to use your 3rd finger and you're going to make another bar. That's right, 2 bars at once across the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings like this. Okay? When I play this position, my 1st string, I just can't quite get it to come out unless I really work at it. So I usually just am content to get the middle 4 strings. And again, the 6th string's okay if you hit that one. And that works really well. This is a nice position to be able to get to quickly. That's a little easier maybe than... Generally, the A position, out of those 4 bar positions, E major, E minor, A minor, that A major position is going to be the one that you're going to be a little shy around at first. And that's perfectly fine. I think a lot of people are. So, but that's it. That's how bar chords work. Now, how do you determine where they go? Well, you'll memorize them with time. You'll get to where you just know that B minor, for instance, is this A minor bar chord position, capoed up 2 frets with your finger, which makes sense, right? A minor, let's take it everything up 1 fret, A sharp or B flat minor. Now let's take it up 1 more fret, B minor. But after a while, you'll just know that that's B minor because it's a pretty common chord. Okay, B minor, F sharp minor, G major, C minor, C sharp minor. You'll just start to know these as you, and by the way, I was switching between A and E positions there. So work on this A major position at some point, but I would really get more comfortable with the E's and then also that A minor position. So good luck just trying your bar chords at first. We will go over them more individually when we are learning them for a specific song. I highly recommend the song by the Pixies called Where Is My Mind, which you may know. It's an alternative rock classic. But even if you don't, I think you'll like that song over in the song section because it just is a great song to use to get accustomed to your bar chords. So good luck. This is one of those humps in guitar playing when you're starting out. You just got to climb that hill to get used to bar chords, and you'll get used to them eventually. The hard thing will be getting into them. I'll say one more thing about it actually. When you're going to a bar chord, in fact, I remember when I first started playing guitar, I had a song that went from a C to a B minor. And I just remember thinking clearly, I will never be able to do this. I cannot make my fingers go to that position. But now I can sit and have a conversation with you while I switch between those two chord positions, simply because I have developed the muscle memory to do so. So what you want to do is you want to play a chord, like if you have to get into a bar chord, say it's C to B minor, for instance. You're going to play your C, and then you're going to get your bar first. I would recommend that. And then get your fingers. And then just keep going back and forth. Why get the bar first? Because it's going to help you whatever bar chord you're doing. And if, for instance, you don't quite have it down and you have to play, you kind of have more of the sound already than if you try to start this way and put your bar down. Plus your bar is the universal variable, then it's not a variable, I guess, it's the universal constant in all of these bar chords, with a variable as your position here. So get the constant and then go to the particular version of the bar chord you need. That's what I would recommend. So good luck playing your bar chords.